Society is collapsing around us. I've talked about the issues that present us in society, especially with the church, the streets, Gen Z, young women, and it's not looking good. The US dollar is continuing to collapse rapidly. Gen Z is ending up in extreme poverty. It's not just Gen Z, the boomers are rapidly ending up homeless as well. You have some boomers who are wealthy and they're just trying to ride off into the sunset while getting more money out of the economy as they leave, Social Security, as if they didn't have enough already. But it's like that song, don't stop until you get enough. It'll never be enough for the boomers. They want it all. They want all the toys. But other generations are really faring very poorly. And like I said, half of the boomers are ending up homeless. So they'll have to deal with that and live with that. Gen Z, they're ending up destitute. Most of them are staying with their parents. They're not moving out. They're moving back in with their mommy and daddy, and they're just basically living these very bad lives. It's insane stuff. Like there's gonna be movies about these people, just showing how these people live, sleeping, farting. They're the sleeping and farting generation. All they do is sleep, eat, get drunk, smoke weed, play video games, play with themselves, fart, and then do it all again the next day. That's Gen Z. That's who these people are. So our society is collapsing. The US dollar is no longer the petrodollar. Saudi Arabia is no longer using it as the reserve currency. So when other countries want to buy oil, they have to, purchase oil using the US dollar. They've that deal is done. It's canceled, finito. So we no longer have the petrodollar. We have BRICS currencies on the way, which are being pushed by some of the largest countries in the world: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and then a number of other countries like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and more are now pushing to make BRICS the reserve currency of the world. It'll be backed by gold, silver, and other precious metals. It'll be more decentralized, so you won't have a single country that has control over it. It sounds very, very good, and if you want to buy, if companies want to buy their stuff from China, if Apple wants to pay for iPhones in China so that they can ship it to the US, they're gonna have to pay in bricks. So that's pretty much it. If they want to do it in India, they're gonna have to pay in bricks. And it's only a matter of time until that it starts happening in Mexico as well, I think. So it's because Mexico is right next to us, and a lot of things are being manufactured there now as well. It's going to become the world's new reserve currency, you know, and that's only going to further push the US dollar down. Gen Z is a hopeless generation. They have no hope, and no one really has any faith in them. And you could see why, because they blame everyone for everything. It's like they take no accountability. They blame their parents for the fact that they take no accountability for anything. It's just kind of ridiculous. Oh, you raised us. It's like, what, we raised you to be destitute. We raised you to be losers. We raised you to be bad little muffins. You know. Well, now there's a new video out. It's actually from CBN, I believe, and they're actually discussing this interesting new wave when it comes to Gen Z and how they're living, because Gen Z is not going to church anymore. Now, of course, I've said this before, that the church leads to the streets and the streets lead to the church. So stay off the church and stay off the streets. The church cannot save you. The church is just a gathering of believers in Jesus Christ. That's how Jesus described it. It is not an organization. It's not a building. It's not a religion. But with that said, it's not just that Gen Zers are leaving the church; they're leaving the very notion of believing in God behind and turning to God behind. They believe in nothing more than the almighty dollar. That's all they care about, is the Benjamins. I if you don't forget that I had a run-in with one of these Gen Zers where I talked about this before in a video, that I said Gen Z doesn't believe in God, and this little joker reached out to me and said, "Oh, it's not that we don't believe that he exists; it's just that we don't care." And that just shows you how horrible these people are. They're bad muffins, man. They're a bad batch. They're a bad batch. We just need to just chuck that away and start over again. Don't bet on Gen Alpha, because they're even worse. Like I said, those people, the generation after Gen Z, they're going to be a large prison population, being born predominantly into single mother households, and they can't read or write. Those are significant statistical variables that just tell us that these people are going to end up in prison. 80% of all the men in prison come from single mother households, and illiteracy is another common trait of people in prison. When you add those two things together, Gen Alpha is going to be is going to be a large prison population. Do you hear how Gen Alpha speaks? No cap, no cap, on God, on God. This is Ebonics for white kids. That's their slang. So you're looking at the article on here, declining church attendance and the future of Christianity, unraveling Gen Z's shifting views in America. So yeah, they're basically just walking away from not just organized religion, but they are walking away from worshiping as well, worshiping God. They don't. The only thing that they really focus on is money. In contemporary America, a new trend has emerged: declining church attendance among Generation Z. As the religious landscape undergoes a massive transformation, this shift in attitude and practice raises vital questions about the future of Christianity in the country. Yeah, they are turning away from Christianity entirely. Recent survey data sheds light on the realities facing organized religion and offers insight into religious movements shaping the beliefs and behaviors of the youngest generation. In this rapidly evolving digital age, Gen Z's views on traditional religious institutions, and the rise of secularism stands as a crucial point of exploration, from cultural and societal shifts to the political implications and impact of on churches and institutions. The phenomenon paves the way for deeper reflections on the changing values and spiritual journeys of today's youth. Yeah. So, Gen Z and changing attitudes towards organized religion. The decrease in church membership can be primarily attributed to shifts in population demographic. Older generations who were more inclined to be church members are being succeeded by younger generations in the United States adult population, and these young cohorts are less likely to affiliate with churches. This factor has become more noticeable in recent decades because millennials and Gen Z differ significantly from traditionalists in their church membership rates, with a difference of about 30 percentage points. In comparison, the gap between baby boomers and Gen X is much smaller at 8 and 16 percentage points, respectively. Additionally, as time passes, the younger generations represent an increasingly larger portion of the entire U.S. adult population. So this is a very serious issue. It's not so much that they're not attending church, because I'm not a big fan of that, but it's more so that they have nothing inside of them. They have no spirituality inside of them. I talk about this constantly, the importance of my connection to God. I've gone through a living hell. In my worst of times, my illness, the only thing that kept me going was my faith. And even then, there were times when I lashed out at God. I was furious. I cursed at him because I was in so much pain, excruciating pain. Like, it was a living hell. I thought I was in hell, and I made it through, and I'm still recovering. But it's everything that I can do. I look at my skill sets, and I realize, like, there's a story in the Bible about a man who had many skills, and and he basically just threw them all away. He's like, God, you gave me these skills, but look at all the other skill, or you gave me like one skill, but look at all the skills that you gave to other people. And he was jealous of all the skills that other people had. And instead of being grateful for the skill that God gave to him, he was contentious of others, of the skills that others had, and he basically squandered his skill. And it's a story that's important. Like, I look at the things that I can do, and for a long time I've had imposter syndrome, but there's so many things I can do that other people who have who have more, degrees more advanced than mine. Granted, I have two of those, two masters, but I have, granted, I'm able to do things that people who have advanced educations cannot do. I'm able to do things that, that are just exceptional. And what this tells me is that it all comes from God. And I know this because I've seen others. For example, I know a guy, he's an amazing programmer, and he was working somewhere, and there was another programmer, and he asked him, like, hey, what's your secret? Because this guy was like amazing. He was like at the top. He was the best at the company. And he asked him, what's your secret? And this guy says, you know, God, find God. And this is a guy who had never graduated from college, you know, and he was like getting jobs at Fortune 500 companies. He was highly sought after. He was the best of the best. And it was literally find God, because Without that spiritual connection, we are nothing. Now, don't get me wrong. If you don't believe in God or you want to have nothing to do with Him, that's cool. That's your choice, and I do not condemn anyone. But I'm saying it's really important, and and the fact that Christianity is beginning to, I shouldn't say so much Christianity, but believers in Jesus Christ are beginning to to deteriorate and to, there are fewer and fewer people, more and more people who are choosing not to believe in Jesus and walking away. I think that's a very serious issue that is going to just further lead to the loss and destruction of our nation and our society, because godless people, you know, if they don't fear God, what do they really fear? If they don't love God, what do they really love? These people talk about self love, but they really don't love themselves. I think, if you think about it carefully, look how they treat themselves, look how they treat their bodies. And the reflection, and the way you treat others often reflects on how you treat, the way that you treat others really often reflects on how you treat yourself and view yourself. If you despise everyone around you, then the person that you often despise the most is yourself. Not always, not always. All right, but it does often correlate. Guys, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, you want even more of this content, consider checking out the Men Walking Away channel, where I release daily videos. There's a link to the Men Walking Away channel description of the video. Go check it out, subscribe to the channel, enjoy the content. Guys, what do you think regarding all of this? Society is collapsing around us. Let me know your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, Men Walking Away. And cheers. This guy right here. This guy right here is the cause of a lot of our problems. You know, he goes into our homes, he goes and he lays with our women, he eats our food, he's in our bed, you know, and he feels like he could just do whatever he wants to do. And it's not going to change. And look how happy he is. Look at that big smile on his face. Look at that big smile on his face. He's so happy and relaxed with his tequila. Look at him. Look how happy he is. Fat little belly, you know, cute little mustache. Looks like one of his teeth are chipped, but that's okay. Probably from trying to open up bottles of Corona with his teeth. Ay, 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 little Pancho, little Panchito, what are we going to do with you? And cheers.